Welcome to episode 6 of PodChamp, the podcast that gives you 100% of your weekly recommended intake of news and views about streaming, gaming, and internet culture. In today's cast, well, this week, 3 of our pod champions are sick, but we're still going to jump right into it, and I'm sure we're going to have a lively and interesting discussion. The big topic for this week's cast is the announcement of the Game Awards nominations. We'll start with our weekly segment, I've Been Playing, a review of the games that we've been playing this week. Following that up, we're going to jump right into that discussion about the 2017 Game Award nominations. I'm your host, Quigabyte, and seeing as I'm talking first, I'm going to go ahead and talk about what I've been playing. Well, over the last week, I haven't really played anything new, so it's pretty interesting. I've been spending most of my time playing World of Warcraft, having really gotten back into it over the last few weeks. I've been spending a lot of time not only playing with Starfish in August, but just playing some of the content that I had missed over the months that I really didn't play it. So it's kind of getting back into it and really getting that itch to continue to advance my character and to play on. And I have to say, I'm really enjoying it.
Did you get to finishing the Destiny 2 story? I'm just curious because I think that's what you talked about last week.
I did talk about that last week, and I actually haven't gone back to Destiny 2 at all. So I think that's partially due to a lack of time to get back into it, and that itch to play WoW again. So, yeah, I will go back to it though. I do want to finish the story. I think I got to the part where we've stopped the ship from taking off, or we've done something. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah. I'm actually at the same point with Destiny as I think it's Alex who was talking about that last week. He was telling that. I basically log in Destiny for once a week, get all the achievements, and then it's off till the next week. So I've really been waiting for the new expansions that they're gonna throw out because I want new content. I'm getting a bit bored of it.
Yeah. Don't they have 2 expansions, or are they not out yet?
One is out now. I think the last week, and the second one is not out yet.
Got it. So apart from WoW and having not got back to Destiny yet, the other game, and I feel like every week I have to tell you guys about something I'm ashamed of playing. Hopefully that doesn't become an ongoing thing.
I was gonna say that could be the new segment, man. Quig's Wall of Shame.
Right. So I've been playing Virtual Beggar on my Android phone. So it's another kind of Clicker Hero style game. You have this little virtual beggar guy, and you tap on the screen to give him coins. Then you end up hiring people to work for you and hiring office space, and it just kind of gets crazy. You end up super rich, but you're still begging on the street. People throw you coins, and I don't even know what to say about it. It's kind of a addictive game I can play while I'm laying in bed or watching TV.
So you're playing as a con artist, basically.
Yeah,
you're fucking rich, but you're still asking for money.
Hey, I'm employing 10 people. I've got a mansion. I've got an ice cream truck for some reason. I'm on the street begging for money. Yeah.
Sorry, ladies, he's off the market. He's all mine.
So, all right, now let me introduce you to some of the finest people you will ever meet. It is the Pod Champions. Starting off, this aquatic life form is so amazing and wonderful, I can't even contain myself. It's radioactive Starfish.
See, now he wrote that introduction before I just, teased him a little bit. Well, I have mostly also been playing WoW because I've mostly been playing it with you, Quig. So there's not a lot there to tell. I am also really enjoying myself again. But it is a game where I feel like I want to sit down and I want to play for 4 hours at a chunk, and that's not always super practical.
That's true. Have you played anything else?
No.
Didn't know. Are there any games that you're excited about playing?
You ask hard questions.
I do.
You know,
I just
WoW's gonna have a new expansion.
It is. Well, the only reason I asked you that question, Starfish, is I know recently you'd purchased some new games or downloaded some, and I didn't know if you'd had a chance to
That's
play
a
them.
little bit unfair. I did just recently buy Civ 6, which I'm a big fan of the franchise, but I haven't sat down and played it yet. It's another one of those games where you want like 8 hours free.
Yeah, and I never really, for some reason, I never really got into the Civilization games, which surprises me, being as I do kind of like those games. But I think I was really into the real-time strategy games and didn't like the kind of more of the turn-based thing. It always intrigues me, and I think I did buy Civ 5, and I think I've over the years, every time a Civ game comes out and you're playing it, I will play 1 or 2 games with on your copy, but it just never hooks me for some reason. I think it's too slow.
It can be slow.
Yeah, it like Starfish said, it's the kind of game you need like a day off to get a good campaign in. It's really fun though. If you liked the early games of Age of Empires or things like that, turn-based, it's really fun, but it takes to get a good game in where you can interact and see all the mechanics, it's about 5 or 6 hours. So it takes dedication to love that game.
And it's a super different game too if you're playing single player versus like multiplayer against somebody.
Yep, I'd agree with that totally. It's definitely the quintessential, I'll just have one more turn game, and then 4 hours later, oh, I'm still playing the game, right?
Yeah, only 3 more turns before I go make dinner, and then it's 11 p.m. and you haven't eaten yet, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna keep playing.
All right, next up, it's everyone's favorite audio genius. It's Gigantus.
Hey, well, like you guys, I haven't played much new this week. Only thing I've been really getting into is a mobile app, actually, because for some reason I wanted to go back to, I don't know, 12-year-old Giga and play YuGiOh this week. So
Awesome.
I downloaded the Dual Links app, and it's actually very well made. And like every card games, there are gonna be microtransactions in the game to buy some cards and everything. But actually, it's not as I was expecting. I thought it would be way more pay to win. So if you don't get any decks or everything, you're gonna lose right away. But I've actually played a couple ranks games, and I've been ranking up pretty good just by the money I can get inside the game, getting achievements and campaign stuff and everything. So it's been pretty fun. And other than that, I got completely destroyed in Overwatch and lost about 300 rank points. And yep, let's not talk about that. So yeah, that's been the games for me this week.
All right, lastly, it's the guy who really doesn't care what I say about him. It's our pal from England, Rux.
Hello. Essentially, for the last week, I've been playing old games and new games. I basically went on a binge of going, I should play the games that I own on my PS4 that I've never beat. Well, I have beaten, they're just there, and I want to get rid of them. So, I beat Final Fantasy VII in 20 hours. That was fun. I've got the new Gran Turismo game, which, to be very boring and not give a decent review about, it's just another racing simulator game.
You know what? The only Gran Turismo game I've played, and you'll laugh at this, was the very first original Gran Turismo.
It's funny you say that, because the last Gran Turismo game I played was the very first one.
And I remember, I was in university at the time, and I remember just being floored by the graphics on that thing. And I recently saw a video and they were showing it, and I'm like, man, I was floored by those graphics.
I mean, it was optimal at the time, right? So it was really good for the time. But when you watch it today, you're like, yeah.
I was just about to say it's the same as Final Fantasy VII. You look at all the things, even the pre-rendered stuff, and you're like, wow, this game's ugly. So.
Yeah, and that's something I've never played. Never played a Final Fantasy game in my life. So.
Also, to top you, I've played a worse game than you.
Excellent. Ooh. I want to hear about it.
I played what I can describe as a clicker game based to lure in young teenage boys.
Oh, good God.
Yes. Basically, it's a game called Crush Crush, and it basically involves. It's like, imagine Honey Pop, but it's a clicker. That's basically what it is, but it doesn't have like the dialogue. It's really weird saying this, but the dialogue's not as good as it would be in Honey Pop. If that makes sense.
It does. Hey, I will never be ashamed of saying I'm a big fan of the original Honey Pop game. Now, the second one actually was a clicker game, really. The second Honey Cam Studio, whatever, it actually is a clicker game. But I just Googled this Crush Crush game, and yeah, you should be ashamed.
Yeah, I completed it.
That's all.
Yeah. I literally was like, what's the silliest game I can see? All right, I'm going to beat this by the time the next podcast comes out. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to the last one, but, you know, I beat it, and I'm very disappointed in my life.
Well, Rux, you made me feel better, so thank you. Okay. So now I'm going to hand the podcast over to Giga, who's going to lead our discussion on our big topic today, the Game Awards nominations. Giga.
All right, let's dive into it. So the game nominations came up in the middle of last month. So in the middle of November, there's more than probably 20, 25 categories. We're going to cover every single one of them. No, we're not. Don't worry. But I've got 10 categories, including Game of the Year. So we're going to go through them, just what we think of it, the games we actually played in these lists, and what we think should win or what we think will actually win. So I've separated like in 2 different categories. You guys can either go like with what you want it to win or what you think will actually win, either with what the critics are going to go with it or what the fan base is more likely to vote on. So first category I want to talk about is best multiplayer. The nominees are Call of Duty World War II, Destiny 2, Mario Kart 8, Player Unknown Battlegrounds, which we'll actually talk about something on this game particularly, and Splatoon 2 and Fortnite. So, any of you guys have any thoughts on it?
No. I'm just kidding. All right. So apologies for the delay there. I was actually just bringing up the website here so I could look at all the games. And you said best multiplayer, right?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So I see them. So, you know, I like you said, I think what would be really interesting here is to give our opinions on what we think is going to win, you know, as well as any thoughts on what we think really should win. Okay, so best multiplayer. Let's see. Fortnite, Call of Duty, World War II, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8, Destiny 2, and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Well, I don't really see PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds winning. That's a tough one. It could be Destiny 2. Although, I don't know. What do you think, Giga?
I actually had PUBG.
You did?
Yeah.
But, okay, I'm interested. Why did you have PUBG?
Because I think on this list, it's the game that has made the biggest impact, even if it shouldn't be on this list, because it's an early access. But in this particular list, I think it's the game that has the biggest impact. It's probably the most different of all of them, because Call of Duty, we've seen it before. Mario Kart, is at its 25th game now, so it's nothing new. And we saw like really free for all, like battle royale style of games before, but not nearly as well perfected as PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. And I think just for like playing with your friends or just playing online with 100 person, it's probably the game on this list that has the biggest impact, or like biggest probably player base in all of this list. So yeah, I had PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds for this one.
Okay, and Isn't it? And apologies, I haven't really played this game, but isn't it very similar to H1Z1 King of the Hill? Was
It
it? Is that what
is.
it's
It
called?
is. Yeah, it is. So like I said, it's got like a few different elements, like the military aspect to it and everything like that. But it's been done before. But I think they took like all of the modes that previous games have done and just made a better version of it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so everything that worked is in this game and they just made a better version of it. And it's really weird that Fortnite is nominated beside it, because, well, it's ironic actually, because it's not nominated for like the actual campaign. It's surely nominated for the battle royale mode that they've added this year. And it's really ironic because without PUBG, this game mode on Fortnite wouldn't even exist.
Right, yeah, because we had the controversy earlier on in the year, where the creator of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds was extremely unhappy with Epic Games for basically, as he was describing it, kind of stealing his mode, and the reason he had a
Yeah.
little bit of meat behind the claim was because I guess he'd worked with Epic Games to optimize something. I don't know if it was. Does PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds use the one of the Epic engines? Is that the deal?
I'm not sure about that one, but yeah, I think he was really like angry of it's basically like, and most people have described it this way. It's basically a Disney version of PUBG. The battle royale mode in Fortnite is a Disney version of PUBG. It's PUBG with animated characters and like more cartoonish characters. So yeah, I don't know.
I just looked. PUBG does run on the Unreal Engine 4, which Epic created.
Got it. That's right. That's right. Okay, I'm remembering the story now. Is that they had been working with Epic Games to improve the engine for games like PUBG, and so that's why he was unhappy with Epic Games when they basically took the concept and added it to Fortnite, because it wouldn't have been possible without the work he'd done with Epic Games to, yeah. So
But all right, so let's actually clear this thing out of the way. So, do you guys think Player Unknown Battlegrounds should be nominated, even nominated in any categories at the Game Awards this year?
all right, yeah, that's a tough one. Starfish, what do you think?
So I took a look, and just as Game of the Year, there's never been an early access in this particular video game um, award. So that's interesting in itself that this is coming up in so many categories. Um, I would like to see, since early access is becoming such a prominent mode for games developers to use in order to get some money early and whatever. I'd like to see some of these game awards have an early access category where those things are like a little bit more corralled.
Right, and which is actually what people are thinking, because like if it's a lot of critics have been asking them to like put these kinds of game in a different category, but the fact that an like how can I say it, an incomplete game can be nominated for Game of the Year, because technically it's an incomplete game, it's still in early access and it's going to come out next year. So that an incomplete game can be nominated for Game of the Year is a bit weird, no matter how big the impact it had this year, right?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm going to ask Rux what he thinks too, because I think my opinion is that it shouldn't be able to be. I'd be okay with them adding a new category for early access games, but I think it would actually be a good thing not to include early access games in any kind of awards like this, because that encourages developers not to use early access as kind of an excuse and put something in early access forever. I don't know, Rux, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my main thought is that technically it's not it's not been it's not finished essentially. So my thought of it is, what if when they do finish the game, it's either worse than it is now or better. You can't. What are you going to do then? Nominate it for Game of the Year when it's finished?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, right? You know, can you nominate it again when it actually gets released? I guess you could, but
the thing that I noticed just about this award in general is that 5 of the 6 games are shooters.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah.
Like, I know there's different genres of games out there that are multiplayer. I know it sounds ludicrous, but especially when you've got Fortnite and PUBG, it seems like
The same
I don't
kind of
know.
game, yeah.
like I guess it's obviously one of those divisive things where people are like, I like Fortnite, I like PUBG, blah 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 blah. But you know,
yeah,
I don't know.
no.
It just irks me the fact that it's like they've put Mario Kart 8 in there, and it's just like, yeah, it's different to the other 5 because it's a racing game. But
Sure, yeah.
what makes that game, like, because it's not a shooter, what makes that game special compared to all the other multiplayer games that aren't shooters?
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, the other thing I noticed here too, and Giga, you may know the answer to this, but there is no Overwatch in here. And I don't know, maybe Overwatch has been in here in previous years. Last year,
I was
maybe.
gonna say, yeah,
Previous years.
yeah, it was there last year, yeah. It's
But-
still in the which we're gonna talk later about, actually, in the ongoing game category. So that the category that rewards, like, I guess, good, like, maintenance of a game over the years. So there's like Overwatch, like Grand Theft Auto and things like that. But it's not going to be in the, like, new game category since it came out last year.
Right. So here's a thought. With each of these categories, why don't each of us say which one we think is going to win, and then we can see when the actual results come out how we did.
Sure. Well, we're gonna see, like, soon enough, because
I know, right?
we're gonna see it this Thursday. Actually, it's December 7th. So,
Sounds fun.
all right. So, what do you guys think should win?
If I was to give an award for PUBG, it would be in this category. I think it basically has a massive player base that
Yeah.
basically has made other companies go, that's a good idea for a game because it's got a player base.
Yeah, it's the same for me. It's the multiplayer game that has the biggest player base and the biggest impact this year, and it's not a full game. And like, I've tried, like, coming up with arguments for the other games to put, like, them winner over PUBG, but I can't. It's PUBG for me.
It's basically like, if you think of what's the biggest multiplayer game right now, most people would say PUBG if they've heard of it.
So, man, this is a tough one for me because I don't want any of these to win, really.
That's not the idea of the game.
No, it's really not. I'm gonna say that Destiny 2 is gonna win it. But yeah, I'd like to see something. I'd like to see Mario Kart 8 win it, just simply because it's not a shooter. But it's probably gonna be. I'm thinking it's probably gonna be Destiny 2.
What about you, Starfish?
I've never played any of these, so I don't have a lot of first-hand knowledge.
Just go with your gut feeling.
But my gut says PUBG.
All right. So we'll see, right? It looks like the pod champions are thinking PUBG is gonna be the winner here.
Is anyone going to write down these things?
Yeah, I will. We can actually do a, like follow-up episode to this if we do something next week. Yeah.
Sorry, the inner competitive Rooks is coming out.
All right, we're ready.
All right, so you're gonna note them down, Giga?
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, so moving on. Next category I chose is Best Game Direction. So it's awarded to a studio for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. And the nominees are Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, Wolfenstein 2, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, and Horizon Zero Dawn.
This is interesting. You know, kind of interestingly, the only one I know zero about is Horizon Zero Dawn. I actually know nothing about that game at all. Best game direction awarded to a game studio for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. That's a tough one because when I look at, for example, I look at Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, absolutely outstandingly beautiful and atmospheric, right? I look at Wolfenstein 2, and the universe and the atmosphere they've created is again outstanding. Not necessarily original, but it's amazingly well done. Resident Evil 7, I wouldn't say really is very original at all, but I thought it was again amazingly well done. Super Mario Odyssey, I think, is an interesting choice in here. I guess there's a lot of creative vision in that one with the whole mechanics of the game and the way it works. Very different pick from say Wolfenstein or Resident Evil 7. Sure. Boy, but that's a tough one for me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, let's go by elimination. So I was hesitating between 3 games in this category, which are Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Odyssey, and Horizon Zero Dawn. I've taken out Wolfenstein 2 and Resident Evil because I didn't see like anything like really new for the game mechanics and everything like that for Resident Evil 7. I was really happy that they made Resident Evil a spooky game again. For like we've been waiting for that for like 5 years.
For a long time.
Yeah, so I'm actually happy they made it back to a scary game. But other than that, I didn't see like any like enough merit to this game to put it as a winner. And same goes for Wolfenstein 2. So I think I'm going to be aided for that, especially from the other PodChampions that are not here. But I've got Super Mario Odyssey over Legend of Zelda for this particular category because I've thought that the way the worlds and especially the mechanics of this game, so the way you can like switch between characters with like the hat trick, like you throw your hat and you become the another characters, and the way you go through the world using these special mechanics really makes a really fun game, and it's a really creative vision. So like and it hurts me so bad because Legend of Zelda is, well, as you're gonna see in probably the most important category of this Game Awards. Like I'm gonna put Legend of Zelda later for that, but for this like for the creative vision, for the innovation, I've got Super Mario Odyssey. What about you guys?
Firstly, I actually, as someone who's played other Resident Evil games, I want Resident Evil 7 to win because it's back on the right track.
Yep, it sure is. I agree totally with you there, yeah.
But the realism is that it won't win. It will be between the 3 games that you shortlisted it to. And honestly, without jumping on the boat, I think it will be Super Mario Odyssey. Because I feel like they may give Game of the Year to The Legend of Zelda. And honestly, for me, Horizon, it looks amazing, but it's very similar to other games. I don't know why. That was the first impression I got of that game. So for me, it looks beautiful, but it's not the game for me, I guess. So I'm just going to say Super Mario Odyssey, but I hope it's Resident Evil 7.
All right, I'm going to jump in having given it some thought. I'm going to say I think The Legend of Zelda is going to win this, just on the atmosphere and the creative direction on there. It's a tough one, but yeah, that's my pick. Starfish.
I really think it's between one of the 2 Nintendo games as well. I've purposefully not been watching a lot of gameplay on Super Mario Odyssey because someday I want to switch.
Oh, really? Now I know what to get you for Christmas.
But I want to say Legend of Zelda, but it's at least partially maybe out of some ignorance over what the new Super Mario Odyssey actually looks like.
So basically, all the PodChampions are basically implying a Nintendo game will win this category, right? whichever it is.
Sounds like it, yeah. We
That
kind of
seems like the
split, but
consensus.
yeah, I think Nintendo have it though.
Then again, we're not the judging board, so we never know.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on. And this one was my toughest choice on all the categories, so I'm gonna go for it. So I chose, like, you know how I'm a big sucker for story games. Like, the narrative is probably the most important thing to me in a game, and there's a category called best narrative. So for outstanding storytelling and narrative development, the nominees are What Remains of Edith Finch, Near Automata, Hellblade's Senua's Sacrifice, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Wolfenstein 2.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein 2. Yeah, sorry.
All right, so let me see. I've seen one of these games, Wolfenstein 2. So, Starfish was Hellblade the game you were playing for a while,
Yes.
which is a little out of character, but you seem to
It
like.
was super out of character, but it was such a good game. That's actually my pick here, and I haven't played all of them by any means, but that's my pick just because it was so good.
It was close to be my pick, but it isn't. Well, let me tell you. I think Hellblade will win, but I think what should win is, and probably like the people have played the least on this category, but I think it should be What Remains of Edith Finch. So for anybody who hasn't played the game, you basically, the story for this game is you return to your family home for the first time in like years, and you go through like generations and generations of your family tree, and you're trying to figure out how everyone in your family died, and if your family is actually cursed, and like you're doomed, and like all of you are gonna die a horrible death, or if it's just, if you're really cursed, or if it's just a legend perpetuated by Miss Edith Finch. And the way it plays out, it's like the core of a narrative game. It's that's all the game is a big story. So you just walk through like the around the areas of your home, trying to get clues, trying to figure out your past and everything like that. And it's basically playing through a movie, and it's really, really well made, and it will make you go through like all of the emotions of, to like sadness, from through like being crazy, through being happy. It's really well made, and I think like for the narrative itself, it should win, but I'm pretty sure Hellblade is gonna win. What do you guys think?
As I'm the only one who hasn't gave my opinion, basically, Wolfenstein 2, I feel narrative-wise is weaker than the first one, so I don't think that will win it. I don't think Horizon will win it. I've never played Hellblade, or the other game that you mentioned. Sorry, I've never played What Remains of Edith Finch, so I'm going to give it to Nier, honestly, just because of the depth of the game and how many different endings there are. And
Yeah, for sure.
It's got a strong narrative actually as well. So-
Yeah, it does. Yeah, if Wolf was here, actually, I think he would go for Nier. Also to back you up, but yeah, it definitely has a strong narrative.
Also, what remains of Edith Finch sounds like going or Gone Home, but like better in every single way possible. Because in that game, you literally just go to a house and look around.
Yeah. It's really well made. Like I said, it's like, well, probably like 2/3 of the games are cutscenes, like to give you like a background story and everything. So it's really well made. That's why it's like my pick as what should win. But I think Hellblade is gonna take it. So and I think, Quig, you were telling Wolfenstein 2, right?
Well, I was saying it's the only one I'm familiar with out of this group. So, just by default, I have to pick Wolfenstein 2. So, but from your description of What Remains of Edith Finch, I kind of want to play it now. So,
I also think like I don't know, just for like the Cinderella story of like the studio that made Hellblade, and like it's basically a triple A game made by an indie studio. People are gonna be wanting to champion like Hellblade, so I'm pretty sure that's gonna take it. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
we've got three for Hellblade and one for Wolfenstein 2. Maybe Quig will win. Maybe he'll surprise us all.
Maybe, but if I don't win on this one, I'm not too upset.
All right. Well, the next one is for best art direction, and I'm gonna tell the nominees, but I think there's gonna
Don't
be.
even need to read them out.
So it's Destiny 2, Cuphead, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Persona 5, and Horizon Zero Dawn. And I think there's a clear winner in this one. I may be wrong, but I'm gonna go for Cuphead.
Yeah, I think Cuphead's going to win for sure.
It's going to be Cuphead, easily.
I agree. Unanimously, it's, the 120,000 plus frames that were hand drawn and digitally colored. That's amazing.
Right, I've got a question for you then. If you can't vote for Cuphead, what game would you vote for?
Ooh,
That's a good question, actually. Here, I'm torn because Destiny 2, as I outlined before, some of those levels are just absolutely beautiful. I'm especially thinking of, and I can't remember the name of the planet, but it's the one where you're like on the oil rigs in the sea. I find that is just particularly beautiful. The way the whole atmosphere, the way the corrosion and the water on splashing up against the side of it, I think is amazing. And then the other one I would think would be The Legend of Zelda, because it's another beautiful game. So if I couldn't pick Cuphead, I'd probably pick either Destiny 2 or Zelda.
yeah, it would be Zelda for me if I can pick Cuphead.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Cuphead. Let's not kid ourselves. It's like you can't. I was trying to, when I was preparing for this, I was trying earlier to compare it to any other game, and I couldn't. I really couldn't. Like for the art style, I really could not. There's not any games that, well, at least that I've played, that compares to this level of like of heart. Really, there's so much work and details going in this game. It's amazing. It brings you like to all time cartoons and everything, and it's just so well made that I don't think there's any other game in this category that will stand up to it.
Yeah, I agree.
No,
Same.
me either. The second pick would be Zelda for me too. Although honestly, Persona 5 has a really strong art direction too. It's not pretty in the same way,
I was going to pick Persona 5 just because.
but it's got a really strong voice, I guess I want to say.
Yeah, it's a really interesting direction too for Persona 5 actually, but it's still gonna be Cuphead. I think there's like, I only took one of the categories that like are, I don't know, art style related, but I think it's just gonna roll over like every category that has some kind of art in it, and it's just gonna take the cake. All right, let's move on. So this one is just for like is just for me basically. I was just curious to hear you guys on this, but since it's kind of like my job in real life, so best score music for the games, like which is the better soundtrack for the games that came out this year. So Nier Automata, Destiny 2, Persona 5, Super Mario Odyssey, and Cuphead.
I'm gonna go Cuphead again.
All right. What about you guys?
I was gonna say, honestly, I don't know. I'd almost have to play some clips. Do they have? Oh, they do have little. YouTube clips.
Yeah, it's all on YouTube. Yeah, you can find it easily.
All right. Hang on. How long are these
Please
clips?
pause.
Well, it's big soundtrack, man.
6
All right.
hours later.
Yeah.
I'm listening right now. I'm listening to Destiny 2, just to remind myself.
All right. Well, quick listens. Rox, what do you think?
I think Persona 5 is going to win.
I
I hope it wins.
it's my pick too. On this one, it's there. I hesitated between two, and I like just a shout out to people who are not here. But I know if Wolf was here, it's say near because we were talking about it at some point and he was telling me like the soundtrack was amazing, but I think the two smartest soundtracks on this list are Cuphead and Persona 5. And the only reason I didn't pick Cuphead is, well, the soundtrack to Cuphead is amazing. Like if it has like an identity of its own, so you hear like 2 minutes of the Cuphead soundtrack, and you know like what kind of game it fits into. You know like what the characters look like. It's really really well made. But what really like put it up for me for Persona 5 is it's the integration of the music in the different levels. It's really 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 like smartly like really well made, and it's because the music for Cuphead is more generic, so you'll get like some different loops for different bosses and everything like that. But the way the music is integrated in Persona 5, it through like it helps build the story and the different characters. So I'm gonna go with Persona 5 too. Have you made up your mind yet, Quick?
Yeah, so I just spent the last few minutes listening. And actually, out of all of those I listened to, I thought Legend of Zelda myself. So that's my pick.
I mean, if there's one thing that people remember about Persona 5, it's the music. Definitely.
Yep, that was like my first argument for any of these was like I couldn't hum or like name you any tunes from either Nier, Destiny 2, Mario Odyssey, and even like at a certain point Breath of the Wild. There's like some teams, of course you're gonna remember like the main teams from Zelda, but like the two other ones, Cuphead and Persona 5, like I was trying to think about it and I could like remember the tunes like very easily. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Persona 5. So we got 2 for Persona 5, 1 for Cuphead, and 1 for Zelda. All right.
Yep.
Moving on, the most anticipated game for 2018 category. So we've got God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World, Red Dead Redemption 2, and The Last of Us 2.
And the important thing about this category, of course, is it is presented by McCafe.
Yeah. Really important to point out, yeah. Well, I've got my pick, but I'm gonna wait to see you guys first.
You want to know my real pick here?
Yep.
It's Spider-Man.
I actually like juggled with it too. I'm really psyched for that one, but yeah, it's not my pick, but I'm really excited for this one. What about you, Starfish and Rux?
Can I guess yours?
Sure.
My guess for Giga's pick is God of War.
It's not actually. Right. It's not actually.
All right. So mine is Red Dead Redemption 2.
And you, Rux?
Mine's Monster Hunter World. The game's there. It's the game that I already have plans to buy and play.
I got plans to buy it too, but mine was actually The Last of Us 2. So we all disagree on this one, which is cool. Yeah.
Split decision.
I was hesitating between 2 games actually. So it's Red Dead Redemption 2 and The Last of Us 2, which feels weird to me because both games, how could I say that? Both games, it's an like non-needed sequel, right? Because the two games really like the way they ended. They didn't need a sequel. So in Red Dead Redemption, the death of John Marston, which is the main character at the end of the game. Sorry for spoilers. It's been like 10 years, so if you don't know it by this point, well, just go play the game. But yeah, so the way that the main protagonist dies at the end, like, just screamed like you don't need a sequel. But it's one of the games I enjoyed the most playing as I was growing up, and I guess there's like more backstory to the different gangs that John was part of, and through like the different alliances that there was in the like government figures of this game that I'm interested of seeing. But my pick goes to The Last of Us 2, and it's the same for The Last of Us. The way at the end where basically Joel and Ellie are together, the two main characters, and like Joel saves Ellie from it and lies to her. I won't spoil that one because it's still like just a couple years old. He tells a big lie at the end that like makes you think the story's over. So like Ellie believes him and the story should stop there. But that's the one like world of games I want to see again. So I think that one will win.
I was just gonna say I'm also looking forward to see if there are any more amazingly hilarious bugs in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
You remember the first one was full of just hilarious bugs.
It was still such a good game though. It was so fun. I just it's one of those things when I enjoyed the game so much that I've just set the bugs aside and like, yeah, there's no bugs in this game. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Rex?
What I was gonna say is that I don't know. For me, because I'm a bit of a pessimist. Sorry. I feel like Monster Hunter World is definitely the game that's gonna least disappoint me, because the other 4 games have such a huge potential to let so many people down.
I know, which is why it's so interesting, though.
Especially the 2 you mentioned, because they don't technically need sequels. So,
I think it's the 2 games that have the most to lose. But I also think it's the 2 games that people are the most hyped about.
Yeah, like I feel like next year when we'll see, especially those 2 games in particular, they're either going to be Game of the Year candidates or they're just going to be flops.
Exactly.
There's not going to be a middle ground in it at all. Also, am I remembering this wrong? But isn't the Final Fantasy VII remake supposed to come out next year?
I think so. Yes, it is.
So
they just ignored that one.
I'm just saying that's another game that is probably going to be panned by loads of people because it's going to be different.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's be honest, it's probably going to be delayed.
That's kind of a decent question, though. Is there anything like coming out next year or whatever that you guys are super looking forward to that didn't make the cut?
Final Fantasy VII remake.
I don't think so. Red Dead Redemption is clearly the one I'm most hyped about, even if I think it's not gonna win this category. But it's the one I'm most hyped about, and the one I'm most afraid of getting like the most deception out of it when it comes out. But no, I don't. There's not really any other game that comes to mind that comes out next week. What about you, Quig?
You know what? I don't think so. The only thing I would say is, I think isn't the new World of Warcraft expansion coming out next year? It would be next year, yeah. So that would probably be my most hyped.
Are you sure it isn't the different Hearthstone expansion pack that might come out?
Well, there should be about 4 of those. So
yeah, are you sure you're not looking forward to those more?
Well, I trust me, I probably am, to be honest, because undoubtedly I'll buy them all. So.
All right, moving on. Next category is best RPG, and honestly, I just wanted to bring this up because like there's been a couple good games, but like it wasn't a big year for RPGs. If like these are the final picks, and I'm not saying they're bad games, not at all, but I'm like there's none of these games that like stood out for me. But I'm gonna say nominees. So there's Divinity Original Sin 2, Nier Automata, Final Fantasy 15, Persona 5, and South Park: The Fractured Butthole.
Hmm.
Do you mind
Well,
if I go? Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
For me, and this actually pains me to say this as a huge Final Fantasy fan, but I think Final Fantasy 15's the weakest game on that list.
Yeah, I'd agree with that fact. Yeah.
Because Persona 5 has got the atmosphere and it's artistic and the music's amazing. Divinity Original Sin 2 is literally amazing. It's like an amazing, I guess you'd call it a CRPG. I guess like one of those really old-fashioned talk to people
Yep.
and make loads of
Yeah.
choices. And it's just amazing. It's got such an amount of depth to it. Near like basically the modern equivalent to that, and it's amazing too. And well, South Park's just hilarious, and it's pretty good. I guess if I had to say one, I'd say Divinity Original Sin 2, just because it reminds me of good, amazing RPGs that took like 80 hours to beat. And
I think it's the one on this list that is the most associated with like the old school RPG mentality that everyone thinks about. So like grinding for hours for your character and everything like that. It's the game in this list that fits this category the most, and it's an amazing game for sure. Quig, what do you got?
That's a tough one because World of Warcraft isn't on here. But I'm going to go with South Park, honestly.
I'm gonna go with South Park too. I think it has a really nice balance and a nice follow up to the first game. And they've added a couple new system for the different classes. The grid system, a bit like you can find when you attack in. I don't know if anybody of you have played XCOM, but it's kind of the same grid attack system. And they've upgraded a lot from the first game, and it's like to Rox's point, it's like the game in this list that is probably the least you associate with an RPG in all of these games, because it's like, of course, it's more story driven, and it's like there's combat, of course, but like the comedy and the story make up the game pretty much. But yeah, I think even if there's still some mechanics and like the overall level of difficulty that this franchise needs to work on, but I think it's gonna win this one. What do you think, Starfish?
So as far as what's gonna win, I think probably South Park's gonna win. I think Divinity deserves to win.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's definitely the most. I don't know how you can classify that. Like the most RPG of this RPG like driven category. Yeah, it should win, but I think like the critics and the fans are gonna go with South Park.
see, I'd agree with you if the first South Park game hadn't come out, because I feel like this game would stand out a lot. The South Park game would stand out a lot more.
Yep.
But I feel like in certain regards, it's different to the first one, but it's also similar because it's South Park.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's the same kind of jokes. Well, that's what people are gonna want, but yeah, it's different. It has similar elements for sure, but maybe it's the toughest category than I thought. But yeah, I still think South Park. All right, moving on, and this one. This one was a tough one for me. Best indie game. So we have Cuphead, Hellblade, Pyre, Night in the Woods, and What Remains of Edith Finch. Don't go all at once.
Literally only played 2 of these games, and I don't know anything about Pyre, but I've heard it's good. And you two, well, everyone here who has played them have said that Hellblade and Edith Finch are really good games. So it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, this is a tough one for sure. Um, hmm. I don't know. I personally think it's going to come down to being between. If I'm thinking about who's actually going to win, I think it's going to come down to being between Cuphead and Hellblade. Um, yeah, it's tough.
Agreed. And I don't know out of those two which one I think deserves it more. They're both kind of. I almost want to say Hellblade on this one.
I'm gonna tell you mine, and maybe it's gonna help you guys in your thought process. But I've got Hellblade, and here's why. Um, I think it's the game on that list that goes the best with the indie mentality, like of going on your own, going just taking it like a bunch of guys going solo, like telling that you don't need the triple A machine games behind to do what Hellblade created, and it's such a unique vision and gameplay. And even like the publisher Ninja Theory described it as the independent AAA game because it looks like a AAA game. It lacks a lot in mechanics and everything, but it's such how could I say it, as an experience, I guess, as like it's so unique that like because the main character goes like fights as much as basically with her own thoughts as she does with like gods and different monsters in the game because she's going through like I don't want like give too much out, but
Crazy.
she's going through like her psychosis, and like the whole story is based around her fighting like trying to get back her lover from Helheim and fighting all these like big monster and gods and things like that, as well as going like through her own battle with her own mind basically. And it's such a unique vision, and the fact that and in like a studio like Ninja Theory that have been like that just took a bunch of guys going solo and trying to create that vision in a AAA game like standard. They wanted to look and play as good as a AAA game while being done with the money they had basically, like which wasn't a too big of a budget. So just for like following this kind of like indie mentality, I think people are gonna want like I said earlier, people will be wanting to champion Hellblade for it, and I think that's gonna win.
Can I ask a quick question then? How long has Hellblade been in development for?
It's we're talking like 3-4 years, I think.
Then that's my vote. Simple as. Job done.
No, Cuphead was in development for 7 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say yeah. It's even longer than that for Cuphead. I'm not gonna lie. I was hesitating between the exact same two as you guys, which is Cuphead and Hellblade. But they're both so unique. They're both such unique games, and but just for like I said, just like the I don't know the Cinderella story of like these indie game developers getting together and putting like that such high standards with a like medium budget. I think they're gonna go for Hellblade.
So here's a question. So Studio MDHR, as far as I can tell, is Cuphead the only real game they've released?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's two guys in Saskatchewan.
Exactly, yeah. Two Canadians in Saskatchewan.
Because when I look at Ninja Theory here, they actually have some games I recognize. Let's see, they have Devil May Cry, Heavenly Sword. Yeah, so they have produced some other games, even though they're a smaller studio for sure. Although when I go to their games page, the one they're trying to push is something called Fight Back for iPhones, but whatever. Yeah, I don't know. So it really depends. Yeah. Okay, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to stop dithering. I'm going to say I think Cuphead's going to win, but I think Hellblade probably should.
I'm going to say that Hellblade will win solely. And sorry if this annoys some people, but I feel like story is more important in a game than art. And I feel like if you take the art away from Cuphead, which is mainly its selling point, honestly.
It is, and
It's
and
difficult.
they're really honest about that. Actually, it's like they've
So
pushed the art way more than anything else.
I feel like Hellblade is a more complete package, if that makes sense. And I feel like I only could tell by what I've read about it. I've played Cuphead, but I haven't played Hellblade. But from what I've read about Hellblade, it sounds like the people that have played it, it just sounds awesome, honestly. So I'll have to pick it up. So I want Hellblade to win. Just 'cause it sounds awesome, I guess.
All right, next one is and there's gonna be Overwatch for you there, quick. Best ongoing game. So we got Rainbow Six Siege, Warframe, Overwatch, Grand Theft Auto Online, Destiny 2, and PUBG.
All right, I have a problem with this. How is Destiny 2 in this category?
It's weird, isn't it?
How is PUBG in this category?
It's a weird one, and it's actually why I brought it up, because I get why I like the first four. I get like Rainbow Six, Warframe, Overwatch, and Grand Theft Auto. I get them. Destiny 2. What's ongoing about it? The DLC?
I guess well, I mean, one of them's dropped, right?
Yeah, it's same with PUBG. It's an ongoing development game, I guess. I don't know. It's weird.
Like this one, you either have to make it be all like unreleased games or no unreleased games. There has to be some kind of even playing field here.
Anyway, well, my pick for this one is Overwatch. I just wanted to bring it up because, because of the controversy of those two games being in this category. But it's clearly Overwatch for me. I think it's as like for new releases, new characters, new maps, new like everything that has to do with the maintenance of the game. Overwatch takes it for this year for me. What about you guys?
Overwatch for me too. Easy.
Yeah, I'd concur on Overwatch for sure.
I'm going to say Overwatch, but I'm going to give credit to Rainbow Six Siege, considering that it basically tanked when it came out, and now I think it has the biggest player base that it's ever had now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can confirm you that. Yeah,
which is insane. Like in terms of just what happens with games.
What they have achieved. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I've actually hesitated with that one because I got like a good friend of mine that's elite coder on this game. So, so sorry, but I didn't go with this one. I still went with Overwatch. But yeah, Rainbow Six Siege has achieved something amazing from like basically no player base to a really stronger one in 1 year, and that's really like hats off to them, but I still go with Overwatch.
I was going to say that, Warframe deserves some credit as well for being a free-to-play game.
I was going to say, to me, just to justify a little bit on the Overwatch side, it's really what Blizzard, at least in the last couple of years, seem to have become extremely good at. Now, they've always been somewhat good at it, but extremely good at constantly delivering new content, changes, keeping you interested in the game. I mean, if you think about World of Warcraft, so they kind of didn't do that for a while, right? They were number one. You would get to end game, and you'd wait a year and nothing new would come out. But if you think about what they've been doing in the last year or two, it's constant, new content, micro pushes, new areas to explore. And we see that with Overwatch too. So we see a constant, slight tweaks here and there, new characters, new features. If you think about Hearthstone, what are we looking at now? 4 expansions a year. So it seems that they've really, I would just say Blizzard overall, and this is, I mean, they make a lot of money out of it, but is constantly pushing new content. And I can't think out of any of them in this category, a game that continues to evolve that player experience, continues to push new content as much as Blizzard is with Overwatch.
Yeah, I agree.
I was just going to say that I find it hilarious that out of all of the characters that they chose to depict, Overwatch is Doomfist.
Yeah.
The character that no one really likes.
Well, it's probably because it came out this year.
Yeah, but so did Moira.
Yeah, well, she just came out though. Did she come out before the announcements? Because the announcements were made like mid-November, so November 15th or 17th, I guess. So she might have come after.
What about Arissa? When did she come out?
Maybe at the start of the year, but like, who cares about Eris?
Yeah, I know. It just made me laugh. I was just like, out of all the characters, why Doomfist?
I guess like it's the most important character that came out this year, maybe, or at least they thought of it this way, I guess. All right. Just before we do Game of the Year, it's competitive Giga that's speaking now. I just want to change my pick for best narrative.
Oh, okay.
I just been thinking about it. I think because what I said is what I'd want to win is What Remains of Edith Finch, and what will win is Hellblade. But I'm gonna change my pick of what will win to Horizon Zero Dawn.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I think just the game, the way it presents itself, like all the commentaries on like religion, the human needs, the desire, the primal desires, that like how sects are formed, how religions is formed, all like the reference to like the dependence on technology and things like that. I think it brings a really like special story, and I don't know why, but it's just a gut feeling that people are gonna go with that one over Hellblade. So I'm just gonna change my pick from that one.
All right. Fair enough.
All right, and finally the last one, Game of the Year. So we've got Persona 5, Super Mario Odyssey, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, and did I miss anyone? I don't think I did.
No, there's only 5.
Yep.
So again, I object to having PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds in here.
Yeah, I think we can make
I can't let it go.
we might disagree on a few of these categories, but I think we all agree that like PUBG should not be even here for like Game of the Year because it's not a
Yeah.
full game. So like
Yeah.
we all the pod champions agree on this one, but still, let's go. What's your pick?
Yeah. So I actually think Super Mario Odyssey will win, but I really would like to see Legend of Zelda win here. I just think the atmosphere, the way it's put together, just the whole package. I do think Super Mario Odyssey. I mean, it's beautiful. It's fun. It has the new mechanics in it, which I think are absolutely awesome. And I just have a feeling that Super Mario is going to win, but I kind of wish Legend of Zelda would win.
All right. What about you, Rux, Starfish?
I think, well, I want Persona 5 to win, but I know it won't at all. So it will be one of the Nintendo games, without a shadow of a doubt. It's just,
Which one?
what do you think is more likely to happen? Because more people have probably played the Zelda game because it's been out for a lot longer, but that also gives people the chance to forget about it as well.
Right,
And-
Mario's fresh in the brain, right?
Yeah. So it's like, for me personally, and I hate this because I'm not a fan of Nintendo at all. So it's really painful for me to say this actually, but I think Super Mario, for me, and this sounds really weird because like obviously I shouldn't really have a say in this because I don't like Nintendo, but I feel like Super Mario Odyssey changes more from its old games than Zelda does, which sounds really fucking weird. But every time I see Zelda, I just think of, oh, it's an open world Zelda game. Yay. And I don't know, Mario just resonates with me more, I guess.
What about you, Starfish?
So I think it's going to be one of the Nintendo games as well. Like I said, I've purposefully stayed away from knowing a lot about the Super Mario Odyssey, but from what I've read, it's such a big departure, but still such a good game, mechanics wise, that I think it's going to be that one.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go against all of you, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna pick Legend of Zelda. Um, I do think it's between the two Nintendo games as well, but I think Zelda will take it. And I have no good reasons for it. I just I honestly like for this one I just like took all reasoning aside and just went with the game I enjoyed playing the most. And on that list it was Zelda. So I'm going with Zelda. And just to be interesting, the IGN made a survey on like on their site and like asking if like this poll ended tomorrow, what games would you want it to win? And actually, people picked none of our choices. I think there was about like 40% picking Horizon Zero Dawn. So we'll see. We'll see about this one. This one is it's a really good category. Like I approve pretty much of all the games that are in this category. So it's gonna be a close one, but I still think Zelda will win.
Apart from PUBG.
Yeah,
Right.
apart from PUBG, yeah, yeah. Put any game in that category instead of PUBG.
So I have a question, having not done my homework and not having asked before this point. How is the voting done? Who votes and what's the? I mean, is it a panel of judges? Is there like a public vote involved? What's the deal there?
So the way it works is they form a committee of people like representatives from like Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, AMD, Electronic Arts, Activision, and the like these people select around 30 to 35 games that will be nominated. And after that, I think after that part, so the public doesn't have any part to do with nominating the games. However, after that part, the people that selected the games have nothing to do with it. So they don't they don't participate in the voting process, and that's where it goes to the public. So it's a bit of both, I guess. Like the people that represents the hardware and manufacturers company like Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, AMD, etc. vote on the games that will be nominated, but after that, it's out of their control.
Right. You can go to their website right now and vote.
Okay. And so you said the Game Awards was this Thursday?
It's this Thursday, yeah.
Okay, this Thursday, December 7th. And I was just looking on their website. How can you watch it? So it says watch live on your phone, TV, or computer. But then it has buy tickets. Do I have to buy tickets, or is it just like streaming on YouTube or something? Oh, distribution partners, Twitch,
You can buy the tickets to go to the actual live event.
Oh.
That's what the tickets are.
I didn't know if it was something like Blizzard's virtual ticket or something, but no. Looks like it's going to be streaming on Twitch and YouTube and various other mixers listed there as well. So, okay.
What would be fun, actually, and we would need to like maybe talk to the other champions about this, but we could. Is there any way we could watch it live with people and just see if our predictions were right?
I'm just looking to see what air times are. Okay, so on Thursday, it looks like it's 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So what time zone?
So it would be 1 hour earlier for you, so it would be 7:30 for you.
Okay, so 7:30, and that's 1:30 a.m. for you, Rux.
Yeah. Maybe it's a bit late for us.
So possibly, so we could talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to you on that, guys. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Game Awards. So if anybody, I don't know if anybody has anything to add up, but that's all for me.
All right. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening. I'm Quigabyte. Thanks go to Giga, Starfish, and Rux. We have been PodChamp. That's PodChamp, PodCast. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on